What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today I have a deck profile on Silvally-GX Flygon-GX. I've been working on this deck alongside of a few others so far in Cosmic Eclipse. I have rather liked playing with this deck. It's kind of refreshing to actually get to evolve several Pokemon, and one of your attackers or your main attacker really is an evolution Pokemon. So I like how the deck works and how it functions, and in testing it's not been too terrible. I don't really have a baseline, I feel like, at the moment in testing. Like, I don't know exactly where decks are falling in range of viability and strength. I just know that Pidgeotto is very good. But this deck is functioning very, very well. So objectively, like I said, it's functioning very well. We just have to see what decks are good and then how its matchups can come about versus the decks that are going to be prevalent in the standard meta. But yeah, so this deck, it's not too unique. I've seen other channels working on something like it. I got the Island Challenge Amulet idea from Rare Candy's deck profile, but then I'm also using more tag team supporters than other videos I've seen, or other deck lists of Silvally Flygon that I've seen. So we'll start off with the main Pokemon, I guess. We have a 3/3 line of Silvally-GX with the disc reload ability. Once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. And then its attack, Brave Buddies, does 50 plus 70 more for a total of 120 if you played a supporter card from your hand this turn. So I think that Silvally-GX, if it had all of its memory tools available in standard format, it had the potential to be almost as strong as Zoroark-GX was. I don't think it quite has the potential right now due to Power Plant, and also due to its fighting memory not being in standard format. If you had the fighting memory in standard format, you could go red and blue into Silvally-GX, attach your 2 energy, and then attach a fighting memory Great Catcher up to Dedenne, and you would always be getting 2 prizes as long as your opponent had the Dedenne-GXs on the board, which is very common in the current standard, as long as you're playing against other GX decks. But because of the lack of fighting memory in standard format, you'll just be doing 120 with Brave Buddies. I'm not playing any other Silvally memories at the moment, but I do think the memories are something to keep in mind once we see which matchups we need to make better. It's also possible to run the other Silvally-GX in here if you wanted another attacker. Let's go bring that up real quick with the Turbo Drive 120 for 3 energy, and then you attach a basic energy from the discard to one of your benched Pokemon, or the Rebel GX, 50 damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. I think Rebel GX is a very good reason to add this Silvally-GX into the deck, since you won't be attacking with Flygon on turn 2. Since you need the extra turn to evolve into Flygon-GX, but with Rebel GX, you could potentially use that on turn 2 and knock out something big in the active, or even Great Catcher up something, and take a large turn 2 knockout. So Rebel GX is something I'm considering, but I don't have it in this preliminary list. But I will be talking about things that I think you could consider. So we have the 3/3 Silvally-GX and the Ditto Prism. We have the Diancie Prism to make our fighting type attacks do 20 more damage to the active Pokemon. And then we have a 4/4/3 line of Flygon-GX. Flygon-GX is our main attacker. Its Dusty Defense stops 30 damage from your opponent's attacks to all of your Pokemon as long as Flygon is in the active spot. So essentially they need to do 270 to one-shot Flygon-GX. Desert Hurricane for 3 fighting, or 2 fighting and a Karate Belt, does 120 damage, and if there's a stadium in play, it does 120 more, and discard it, so that's 240. If you have Diancie, that's 260, And then if you have Martial Arts Dojo, that's either 270 or 300. And then the Sonic Edge attack just does 220 and goes through effects. So the going through effects is nice to have. Maybe if you're going up against a Keldeo GX or something like that. And then just the one Dedenne-GX for draw. So going into the trainers, I think there's a lot of room to work with how you want to build the trainer portion of this deck. For Pokemon Search, I've got 3 Cherish Ball, which can get out our Dedennes, our Flygons, and our Silvallies. 3 Pokemon Communication. It's very important to get out a Vibrava, but we're also running 4 Vibravas. So sometimes you'll just draw into the raw card itself, and sometimes you'll have the Pokemon Communication for it. And then also for Pokemon Search, I have 4 Pokemon Fan Club. If you don't get to utilize these on turns 1 and 2, that's fine, because we are running 8 tag team supporters that need to discard cards, and this is a great target to discard later in the game. For our Gust effect, we are running 2 Great Catcher. Aside from the Dedenne-GX, we are getting to decide what we discard. As long as we don't have a very small hand, we can usually decide what we want to discard with our tag team supporters. And we don't have any other effects aside from Dedenne, so if the 2 Great Catchers are in our deck, chances are we are going to get to use them as long as we draw into them. They won't have to be used as discard fodder most of the time, so 2 is enough for now. For our stadium, we're running 4 Martial Arts Dojo, but I do think Chaotic Swell is a very, very good stadium to consider, especially versus Pidgeotto. If you're able to get down a Chaotic Swell before going down to 2 or 1 prize cards, and then again before going down to 1 prize card, they can't power plant you out of being able to use disc reload, which means that they essentially cannot lock your hand, because you can just disc reload on the following turn as long as you have your Silvally-GX out. So Chaos Swell, let me just bring that up real quick in case you have not seen it yet. Chaotic Swell, not Chaos Swell. So yeah, whenever either player plays a stadium card from their hand, discard that stadium card after discarding this one. The new stadium card has no effect. So if Chaotic Swell is out, the new stadium card comes in to bump it, but then that new stadium card is also discarded. Right now I'm thinking about going down to 3 Martial Arts Dojo and then cutting 1 other card to add 2 Chaotic Swell, just to stop Power Plant from affecting our Dusty defense in most matchups, and then our disc reload versus Pidgeotto. For the tools, I have 3 Island Challenge Amulet. The Pokemon GX this card is attached to gets minus 100 HP, and when it is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, that player takes 1 fewer prize card. And then I also have this Karate Belt. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to cost 1 fighting less. So the Island Challenge Amulet, the tricky thing with this is it's only damage from an attack, so spell tag damage or distortion door damage or SBoxes, cross division, basically things that are happening versus Malamar can get around the Island Challenge Amulet, and then your opponent would take the full 2 prize cards and have to deal 100 less damage. On Flygon with Challenge Amulet attached, that would be 140 HP, and you're putting out a ton of damage, and you're a 140 HP 1 prize attacker. With 140 damage, if your opponent Distortion Door pings you while you're on the bench and then hits you with a Shadow Impact in the active, that's still 1, that still doesn't knock you out, and 2, we're playing Mallow and Lana in this deck, so we can heal our Flygon-GX before knocking out that Tina, essentially not allowing them to knock us out with the spell tag damage after already hitting us a bit. The Silvally-GX would only be at 110 HP with the Island Challenge Amulet on it. which means they could go like Distortion Door, 1 damage counter onto it, and then Cross Divide, 10 damage counters to the Silvally, knocking out 110 HP Pokemon but taking 2 prizes. So Island Challenge Amulet can be tricky on the Silvally, but I think it's actually very, very good on the Flygon-GX. And then onto our supporters, we'll also include the Tag Call in our supporters, since the Tag Call can only search supporters in this deck. But I'm playing 2 Tag Call, which searches your deck for up to 2 tag team cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. This is just my favorite card of the set. It's so good for consistency and options, and I think it allows skillful play to come out on top more often. So this can search for tag team Pokemon or supporters, but like I said, we're not playing tag team Pokemon in the deck as of now. Marshadow Machamp is a possibility if you wanted it, but I don't think that it's necessary. So red and blue, we have 4 of this card, which searches your deck for a Pokemon GX that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. So note that you cannot use this card during the first turn that Pokemon is out. So that also includes your first turn. So if you just evolved Trapinch into Vibrava, then you cannot use red and blue to evolve it into Flygon-GX. If you just benched type Null, you cannot red and blue it into Silvally. So you do have to set up the Pokemon a turn. Excuse me. You do have to set up the Pokemon a turn ahead of time. When you play this card, you may discard 2 other cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to the Pokemon you evolved in this way. So it's not cheating out Pokemon around the evolution rule, but it is excelling energy to evolution Pokemon specifically, which is a very nice card design that I'm happy about. I'm not sure we've had energy acceleration that was specific to evolved Pokemon GX before. So this is really, really nice, especially coming out of this welder heavy format that we just had. I also have 2 Cynthia and Caitlin. Put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand, and then when you play this card, you can discard another card to draw 3. So you're getting a supporter card for next turn that isn't Cynthia and Caitlin, and you're discarding a card to draw 3. And with Disc Reload, you probably already used Disc Reload. Now you have a 5-card hand, so you're going to use Cynthia and discard a card, get a card from your discard pile, and then draw 3 more cards to put you up to a 7-card hand. And then you could possibly even play down some of those cards to use Disc Reload again. And then Mallow and Lana, I'm not sure if this is being slept on a bit in the general community, or if it's just the higher skilled players noticing how good it is, but Mallow and Lana is very, very good. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, just a switch, and then if you discard 2 other cards from your hand, you can heal 120 damage from the Pokemon you move to your bench. This is just amazing versus single prize attackers, namely Malamar variants, but I'm sure other single prize attackers will pop up. I think Spiritomb has some potential right now. The new Nuzzle Raichu is a single prize deck that isn't always one-shotting. So that's a huge heal of 120 in a format where we don't have a Sorola and Max Potion. And like I said, I'm playing the Tag Call, so you can get a combination of 2 of these tag team supporters that we're playing 8 of. The 2 Cynthia Caitlin, 2 Mallow Lana, and 4 red and blue. And then, of course, we have 10 fighting energy. Because when you play red and blue, you want to be able to attach those 2 basic energy cards to the Pokemon you're evolving. And that is the whole Flygon and Silvally deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I will have the exported version of the deck in the description below, so you can just easily import that into your PTCGO. Check out flipsidegaming.com and use code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order $10 or more. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.